You decide to Google something. The results show up as expected, and the article opens up instantly when you click on it. It's amazing, but it only works if the result has this small energy icon. That is AMP, and it's how Google is taking control over the web in a desperate battle to survive. Welcome to a deep dive into Google's market dominance. It's a big company, but did you know how big it really is? Google Chrome has a market share of 66%, and that's probably not higher as Apple is straight up refusing the browser on iOS. YouTube is at 74% and above 90% if you exclude Vimeo. Android is at 75%, Analytics at 81%, Web Ads at 82%, Maps at 84%, Font Hosting at 89%, CAPTCHA at 95%, and Google Search at 92%. That sure is some market dominance. And all of this makes Google a... this video might make it hard for me to get a job at Google. Let's see, no front-end developer jobs in Norway. Google is a monopoly. They have a significant market share in key areas like video, smartphone, and search. Now, let's focus on that last one, search. It's the first product they launched and at the core of the company today. It's great as it gives you the world's best answers instantly and it's completely free. That's because Google is in fact the advertisement business before anything else. Selling ads on the web and especially in search is their main source of revenue. They have to remain the search engine of choice for this to work as Google needs to be the gateway to the web. They do this by creating an amazing product for free and paying billions to Apple and Mozilla Firefox to be the default search engine. Really anti-competitive behavior in the opinion of the US Department of Justice. Where a web page ranks on a Google search will make or break the website. There is a reason search engine optimization is such a high-paying job. Getting to that top position is critical, and that makes the AMP controversy so much worse. The web on mobile was in a really bad place 5 years ago, as it was meant for desktop computers and not small and slow phones. This made Google really nervous as they make so much money from people using the web compared to apps. This is why they created AMP, which is a toolset for creating fast websites for mobile phones. Strict limit on size and no JavaScript made them really fast. Google then started to give preferential treatment to websites adopting AMP. This meant that companies had to start using AMP or they would disappear in the search results. It was no longer a choice. Google is not the only one doing this. Facebook has created instant articles and Apple has its own Apple News system. All of these proprietary standards aim to speed up the experience and to keep the users inside their ecosystem. AMP websites are hosted by Google, not by the company that made the website. Google has even started stripping away at the address bar, making the original website even less visible and in control. This is a tricky issue, as it might be a necessary evil by Google, as the web is overflowing with ad-filled and slow websites. Forcing websites to both load and run faster might be the only real way to improve the mobile browsing experience, one that Google desperately needs to survive. Their main source of revenue is ads on the web, and losing that battle will have devastating consequences for Google. Google is a monopoly, but it's unstable. The main reason so many uses their products is because they are the best products available and they are free. This is what makes it unstable. A significantly better product will easily pull in Google's users. This is not true for all products, like for example YouTube. Its social factor holds users back from switching. However, this is not the case with Google Search, their main product. Let's face it, all the alternatives to Google Search are really bad. A key element that makes it great is how much data it collects about you. It is a really big invasion of privacy, but it gives you significantly better results and ads as a result. You are viewing this video on YouTube. with Google delivered ads and probably by using Google Chrome as well. Google is everywhere on the web and they even have the entire smart speaker market in my home. Okay Google, is Google a monopoly?
On the website marketrealist.com, they say, the Google of today is a monopoly gatekeeper for the internet and one of the wealthiest companies on the planet.
It might seem that Google is doing really well, but they are actually in a fight for survival at the moment. The web is becoming less popular as social platforms have started to replace it in some areas around the world. Google's biggest competitor is now Facebook. Google's revenue from ads fell for the first time this year as Facebook is increasing their market share fast. Even Google Search is making less money as it's funded by ads. Google ad revenue bounced back in Q3, but Facebook advertising is still growing twice as fast. There is a reason Google tried desperately to make Google Plus a thing. They saw how Facebook's social platform would dominate in the future and how users would disappear from the web and into Facebook's walled garden. Google has become the guardian of the web, a slowly dying platform. They are unfortunately forced to create solutions like AMP, even if they get a significant backlash. The water is really murky on this one. You might think that Apple is a competitor, but that's not really the case. They are locked in a duopoly on smartphones where each is targeting a different type of user, and Google is paying a lot of money to Apple to be the default search engine on iOS, like $8 to $12 billion. That is 10% of Apple's profit coming directly from Google and 36% of Google's searches coming from iOS. This deal has started to attract antitrust allegations, which has forced Apple to start making their own search engine. Personally, I don't think a search engine by Apple will be anywhere near as good, as Apple is privacy focused and a great search engine unfortunately needs private data for the best results. Google might be broken up soon by the US Department of Justice. A giant antitrust investigation is underway against them for their market dominance, and parts of the company, like Chrome, might be forced out as a separate company. This will fundamentally break Google and the web. The only reason Chrome and Firefox exist is because Google is paying for them. That leaves Safari as the only major browser not funded by Google, and it has become the worst browser after Internet Explorer. Is Safari the new browser to rule the world? New browsers will appear in the void, but browsers have become so complex to make that they need major backing from large corporations like Google, Apple and Microsoft. Governments are the final enemy for a monopoly, and Google knows this. They have forbidden Google employees from talking about this subject and even started labeling some internal emails as only for lawyers, preventing investigators from reading them. Breaking up Google will also open up for competitors from China with non-existent antitrust laws. This is what helped TikTok become a global app, and a broken Google can have the same effect. There needs to be another solution. Google is abusing their power, but straight up breaking up the company will only create new problems. The antitrust case against Google seems circumstantial with no direct evidence of market dominance exploitation. I think the case against Apple and Facebook is much stronger, but you could argue that Google's case is more important as it affects more people. Our biggest problem with Google is that they could abuse their power easily, even if they don't actually do it. No one really knows exactly how Google search works, and that's scary. AMP falls into the same category, as it's the Google search ranking that makes AMP bad, not the technology in itself. Google has recently started to give the same treatment to non-AMP sites if they're just as fast. However, this bypasses the real discussion on whether the web will survive in the long run. Native apps and the walled garden of Apple and Facebook might be the new web if we're not careful. Thank you for watching. I really love the web, but I would hate for it to fall into irrelevance. What do you think of Google's dominance and the fight to break up Google? Let's meet in the comments.